Gandalf does not take the ring in Bag End. That is the key. If he simply reached for it the first time Frodo offered it, the story would be too easy. Gandalf knows what the ring is. He knows it would not tempt him with gold or comfort or a throne. It would tempt him with the thing he has spent his whole life trying to do: save people. So when Frodo holds out the little golden ring in the quiet of the Shire, Gandalf refuses. His voice shakes, but he refuses. He tells Frodo not to tempt him. He says he would take it from a desire to do good. And through him it would become a power too great and terrible to imagine. So the story begins the way it should. Gandalf says no. The tragedy is that later, no is no longer an option.
The road out of the Shire goes wrong, worse than the story we know. The Black Riders move faster. The Shire is watched earlier. Frodo, Sam, Merry and Pippin still flee, but every hoofbeat sounds closer. Every inn door feels like a trap. Gandalf is not there. He is still chasing the enemy's movements, still trying to outrun plans already in motion. By the time he finds them, it is too late. The Nazgul have Frodo on Weathertop. The Morgul blade has already gone in. Sam is screaming. Aragorn is fighting like a man holding back the night with a torch. Merry and Pippin are frozen. And Frodo is fading. Not over days. Now. The ring is slipping from his hand. One of the Nazgul reaches down. Gandalf sees the whole future narrow to 3 choices. Let the Nazgul take it. Let Frodo vanish into their world. Or take the ring himself. He has warned everyone that he must never touch it. He does not believe he is immune. That is not his mistake. He knows the ring would corrupt him. He simply believes it would corrupt the others faster. Aragorn carries the blood of Isildur. Boromir carries the desperation of Gondor. Legolas and Gimli carry the fate of peoples already close to war. The hobbits are brave, but breakable. And the Nazgul are seconds away. So, Gandalf does not take the ring because he trusts himself. He takes it because, in that instant, he trusts everyone else less. Not forever. Only long enough to save Frodo and reach Rivendell. If Frodo survives, Gandalf can give it back. If Frodo is too wounded, Elrond can choose another humble bearer. A hobbit. A gardener. Someone small enough that, even if the ring gnaws at them, the damage will not become a kingdom. This is the bargain Gandalf makes with himself. He will not be the ring-bearer. He will only be the hand that keeps it from falling into the dark. But wisdom is easy when the danger is theoretical. It is harder when Frodo's soul is being pulled into darkness in front of you. Gandalf steps into the circle of the wraiths. Fire breaks from his staff. The Nazgul recoil, but they do not flee. Their master is too close now. The ring is too close. Frodo's fingers open, and Gandalf catches it. The world stops. Not for everyone. For him. The ring touches his skin, and suddenly Gandalf can hear the bones of the world. Because Gandalf was never only an old man with a staff. He is a Maya, a spirit wearing flesh sent into Middle-earth with limits. The ring does not give him a new soul. It loosens the limits on the one already there. He hears fear in the hobbits. He hears old grief in Aragorn. He hears the Nazgul like torn bells ringing in a language of slavery. He hears Sauron, far away, waiting, smiling. The Dark Lord thinks he understands what has happened. Another fool has taken the bait. Then Gandalf closes his hand, and the fire changes colour. It is no longer orange. It is white, sharp, clean, terrible. The Nazgul scream, not because they are burned, because another will has touched the chains around them. Gandalf does not destroy them. He pulls. The wraiths are dragged backward like shadows in a storm. Their horses collapse, their blades fall. The night itself seems to crack.
Then Gandalf turns to Frodo. The wound is spreading. He places one hand over it. The ring burns against his palm. Frodo gasps. The blackness retreats. Not fully. The wound never heals cleanly. But Frodo comes back. It is the worst lesson Gandalf could have learned. He took the ring. He used it. And he saved Frodo.
No thunder punished him. No voice declared him fallen. No evil crown appeared above his head. Only a boy breathing again on cold stone. Gandalf tells himself it was an emergency. Only until Rivendell. Only until Frodo can take it back, or Elrond can place it in humbler hands. But the ring has already given him its first gift. Not power, proof. And after proof comes hunger. Not for gold, not for praise, for the next disaster he might prevent. At Rivendell, everyone sees the change. Gandalf does not look darker. That would be simpler. He looks brighter, older and younger at once. His eyes are clearer than they should be. His voice carries too far in quiet rooms. And when he speaks, people find themselves listening before they decide to.
Elrond asks for the ring. Gandalf agrees. He truly means to give it up. That was always the plan. Save Frodo, reach Rivendell, let the ring pass to safer hands. He places it on the table. The room holds its breath. Elrond reaches for it, and Gandalf sees him, not as he is, but as the ring wants him to be seen. Elrond, lord of a hidden valley, preserving beauty while the world rots beyond his borders. Elrond, old enough to be tired. Elrond, wise enough to justify anything. Then Gandalf looks at Aragorn, a king without a crown, a man born from the same bloodline that failed before. Then Boromir, desperate, proud, full of love for a city already dying. Then the hobbits, small, brave, breakable. One of them could carry it. That had been the idea. A humble bearer, not a wizard. But now Gandalf has felt what the ring can do in his hand. He has felt Frodo breathe again, and the Nazgul recoil. The ring does not whisper, "Keep me." It whispers, "Look at them." And Gandalf does. He sees every weakness in the room, every fear, every hunger, every future disaster hiding behind a noble face. Elrond's fingers hover above the ring. Gandalf takes it back. No one moves. Gandalf hears himself say, "Not yet. Just a little longer. Only until the road is safer. Only until Frodo is stronger. Only until they know who can bear it." This is the second fall. The first was taking it to save Frodo. The second is deciding temporary should last longer.
The council breaks, not with shouting at first, with silence, because nobody wants to say the truth out loud. Gandalf has already used the ring and done good with it. Frodo is alive. The Nazgul were driven back. The danger is no longer a theory. The evidence is standing in front of them. Boromir is the first to speak. He says what half the room is thinking. If the weapon can be used against Sauron, why destroy it?
Aragorn turns on him. Elrond warns them both. Gimli says no weapon made by the enemy should be trusted. Legolas says the woods have begun whispering of a white fire in the west. Frodo says nothing. He is staring at Gandalf's hand, because he was there on Weathertop. He felt the ring pull him away. Then he felt Gandalf pull him back, and he cannot decide which feeling frightened him more. Gandalf ends the argument with one sentence. If I had not taken it, Frodo would be gone. No one can answer. That sentence becomes a door. Every compromise after it walks through the same door.
The new company does not set out to sneak into Mordor. Gandalf calls that noble madness. Sauron expects secrecy now. Mordor is awake. The old path has closed. So instead of carrying the ring to destruction, Gandalf chooses another road. He will break Sauron's power piece by piece. He will cut off the hands reaching for the ring. He will gather the West before the West can be divided. Aragorn goes because somebody must stay close enough to stop him. Frodo goes because the ring began with him. Sam goes because Frodo goes. Boromir goes because Gondor finally has hope. Legolas and Gimli go because their peoples need witnesses. And Gandalf goes because he has begun to mistake being watched for being restrained. Their first destination is not Mordor. It is Orthanc. Sauron must be dealt with before he sells the world twice. In another story, Saruman imprisons Gandalf. Here, when Gandalf comes to Isengard, the tower itself feels afraid. Saruman opens with charm, then warning, then envy. He tells Gandalf the ring cannot be mastered. Gandalf answers, I know. Saruman says that makes him a fool. Gandalf says it makes him necessary. Then Saruman raises his staff. The air bends. The two wizards stand on the edge of tearing Isengard apart. But Gandalf does not fight him with lightning. He speaks into the thing Saruman loves most, his voice. Saruman opens his mouth. No sound comes out. The master of persuasion, the wizard who poisoned kings with words, claws at his own throat in silence. Gandalf takes his staff. Then he takes the Palantir. Aragorn reaches for his sword. You cannot leave him like this, he says. Gandalf looks at the pits of Isengard, the felled trees, the furnaces, the half-made army. I did not kill him, Gandalf says. And there it is again, the sentence that excuses everything. Not dead, only silenced, not conquered, only prevented, not evil, necessary. In his own mind, Gandalf makes a promise. When the war is over, I will give Saruman his voice back. When the danger has passed, I will undo what I have done. That promise comforts him. It also teaches him something poisonous. If a cruel act can be undone later, then perhaps it is not cruel now. That night, Gandalf looks into the Palantir. Everyone tells him not to. He does anyway. Sauron is waiting. This should destroy him. But Gandalf now holds the ring, and the Palantir becomes a battlefield. The company sees only Gandalf standing still, white light leaking through his fingers. Inside the stone, two powers collide.
Sauron throws armies, towers, fire, fear, the memory of Numenor, the fall of kings, the long hunger of the ring. Gandalf answers with something colder. Purpose. He does not hide from Sauron. He lets Sauron see him. Then he lets Sauron see the Nazgul hesitate. Sauron's certainty cracks. The Dark Lord expected a rival. He did not expect a judge. When Gandalf releases the stone, his hair has gone almost silver white from root to end. His staff is cracked. His shadow points the wrong direction. Frodo asks what he saw. Gandalf says, "A path." But it is not a path to Mount Doom anymore. It is a path to rule. From Isengard, the story becomes Gandalf's war. Not the War of the Ring as we know it. Something stranger. He does not wait for kingdoms to choose courage. He forces courage awake. And his power does not grow in a straight line. It climbs like fire finding dry wood. Because the ring does not make him a different being. It removes restraint from the being already there. First, one wraith is driven back. Then 9 begin to hesitate. First, one wizard is silenced. Then a king rises because Gandalf commands it. Each use makes the next use easier. Each victory teaches him that restraint was only delay, wearing a noble name. In Rohan, Wormtongue tries to flee before Gandalf even enters the hall. Gandalf speaks his name, and every lie Wormtongue has told comes pouring out of him in front of the court. Theoden rises from his throne, but not like a man healing, like a man summoned. Éowyn sees it. So does Aragorn. The people cheer anyway, because the poison is gone, because their king is standing, because nobody wants to ask whether a man restored by command is truly restored. Gandalf does not take Rohan by force. He does not need to. He asks for riders. Theoden gives them. He asks for oaths. The hall kneels. He asks for haste. No one sleeps. And in Gandalf's private thoughts, the words begin to change. At first he thinks, they trust me. Then, they need me. Then quieter. They are better when they obey. This is where Boromir begins to love him. Not blindly, not stupidly. Boromir sees the danger. But he also sees soldiers moving before it is too late. Kings acting before pride kills them. Evil dragged into daylight before it can poison a house from within. For a son of Gondor, Gandalf looks less like a tyrant than an answer to every prayer Denethor never gave him. And that frightens Aragorn most, because Boromir is not corrupted by greed. He is corrupted by relief. The next miracle is worse. An orc host is moving through the valleys north of Rohan, large enough to burn villages before any army can answer. Gandalf reaches them before dawn. He could warn the villages. He could rally the riders. He could fight. Instead, he raises the ring and speaks to the fear inside the orcs. They stop. Every one of them. Weapons fall from their hands. Some begin to weep. Some tear at their own armor as if waking from a nightmare. It almost looks like redemption. Then Gandalf sees what they have done. The burned farms, the bones in the snow, the children hidden under floorboards who did not hide well enough. His mercy closes. White fire runs across the valley. The orcs do not scream for long. When it is over, the villages are safe. Not one rider has died. Not one more child will be taken by that host. Sam throws up behind a stone wall. Gimli says nothing. Legolas will not look at the ashes. Frodo asks if they had surrendered. Gandalf says they had stopped. Frodo asks if those are the same. Gandalf does not answer. He does not need to. Inside, he has already answered. Mercy is for those who can be trusted with another chance. These creatures were made by evil. If fire ends their evil faster than pity, then fire is the cleaner mercy. The war has changed again. Gandalf is no longer only preventing evil. He is deciding which evils are allowed to regret. By the time they reach Lothlorien, the forest is already afraid of him. The leaves do not move when he passes. The canopy goes quiet. Galadriel meets him beside the water. She does not ask to see the ring. She can feel it. She looks at Gandalf, and he almost seems ashamed. Galadriel tells him he has mistaken strength for permission. Gandalf says, permission is a luxury the dead cannot grant. She shows him what he is becoming. Not a dark lord of iron and ash. Something brighter. A white lord. Beautiful. Merciful. Impossible to refuse. In that vision, Middle-earth is peaceful. Roads are safe. Children sing. No one starves. And every song praises Gandalf. Not because he demanded worship. Because people have forgotten how not to. Galadriel says this is the danger. Gandalf says it is also better than Sauron. She does not deny it. That silence wounds him more than an accusation, because even Galadriel cannot say his world would be worse in every way. Only that it would no longer be free. When he leaves Lorien, many elves begin preparing to sail. Not because Sauron has won, because Gandalf might. Gondor is next. Denethor has already seen flashes in the Palantir, not enough to understand, enough to fear. He sees a white figure standing where Sauron should stand. He sees Boromir kneeling. He sees Minas Tirith saved under a light that does not feel like the sun. So when Gandalf enters the city, Denethor does not welcome him. He bars the upper levels. He calls him usurper. He says Sauron comes with a burning eye, but Gandalf comes with pity, and pity is harder to refuse. Everyone expects Gandalf to strike him down. Instead, Gandalf offers Denethor exactly what he wants. Proof. He opens the Palantir between them. Denethor sees the whole war. Not pieces, not Sauron's lies, all of it. He sees the armies gathering. He sees how close Gondor is to ruin. He sees Boromir alive because Gandalf took the ring. He sees Faramir dying in futures where Gandalf shows restraint. And he breaks. Not because Gandalf crushes him, because Gandalf shows him a truth no father could survive. Denethor gives him the city. Boromir kneels with tears in his eyes. Faramir refuses. That refusal saves his soul and nearly costs him his life. Gandalf looks at Faramir and sees a man willing to lose everything for a principle. Once he would have loved that. Now he sees waste. In Gandalf's mind, Faramir is no longer brave. He is inefficient. And that is a terrible thing for a good man to become in Gandalf's eyes. He orders Faramir confined for his own safety. Not executed, not tortured, protected
from the consequences of his own conscience.
Aragorn can bear no more. Outside the White City, beneath a sky full of ash and white flame, he draws Andúril. Legolas reaches for him. Gimli swears under his breath. Boromir begs him not to. But Aragorn steps toward Gandalf. He says the ring has already won. Gandalf says the people are alive. Aragorn says life without choice is only a longer defeat. Gandalf says choice built the road to every grave they have passed. Aragorn says that if Gandalf truly believes that, then he is no longer a guide. He is a jailer. The word lands. Gandalf looks like himself again. Then he looks past Aragorn, toward Mordor. He sees the eye. He sees the armies. He sees every life that will vanish if he hesitates. "Lower the sword," Gandalf says. Aragorn fights it. His hand shakes, the blade trembles, every part of him resists. Then Andúril lowers. Not because Aragorn chooses peace, because Gandalf has taken the choice away. Frodo finally understands that Gandalf is not becoming dangerous. He has become dangerous. The march on Mordor is not a battle. It is a coronation no one agreed to attend. The armies of the West follow because Gandalf has made victory possible. The armies of Mordor wait because Sauron has ordered them to die. Between them stands the ring-bearer who should never have existed. At the Black Gate, Gandalf does not offer terms. He offers release to the slaves of Sauron, to the men who serve from fear, to the orcs bred into hatred, to the Nazgul bound beyond death. He raises the ring, and the battlefield becomes silent. The first to break are the men. Easterlings drop their spears. Haradrim captains fall to their knees. Then the orcs begin to howl, not in rage, but confusion. Something inside them is being pulled apart. Hatred loosens. Pain floods in behind it. Some try to run. Gandalf does not let them. Stand, he commands. They stand. Then the Nazgul come. 9 shadows screaming through the sky. The Witch King dives toward him. Gandalf lifts his hand. The Witch King stops in the air. Not destroyed. Held. Like a stain trapped under glass. Sauron feels it, and the eye widens. Now the Dark Lord understands the mistake. He thought Gandalf would try to destroy him. Gandalf has learned something worse. Anything that can be bound can be used. The gates of Mordor open, not because they are broken, because Gandalf commands the fear inside those who guard them. He walks into the Black Land with Frodo, Sam, Aragorn, Boromir, Legolas, and Gimli behind him. Not as companions now, as witnesses. Mount Doom burns ahead. For a brief, wild instant, Frodo thinks Gandalf means to finish it, destroy the ring, end the danger. Instead, Gandalf turns away from the mountain. He walks toward Barad-dûr. Sauron pours himself against the world. The sky darkens. The tower groans. The ring becomes almost too bright to look at. Gandalf climbs. At the top of the dark tower, the 2 wills meet. This is not a man facing a monster. It is Maya against Maya. Sauron, stripped down to hunger, against Gandalf, still pretending his mercy is not becoming a throne. Sauron offers him everything a tyrant would want. Rule, worship, fear. Gandalf rejects all of it. Then Sauron shows him the truth he has been avoiding. There is no clean victory. Destroy the ring, and the world remains free to rot again. Keep it, and the world can be made safe. Not perfect. Safe. Gandalf looks back. He sees Frodo at Weathertop, dying. He sees villages saved by fire. He sees Gondor standing. He sees Aragorn lowering his sword. He sees Faramir locked away and alive. Then he looks at Sauron and makes a choice no one expected.
He does not kill him. He binds him. Sauron's will is dragged into the ring like a storm forced into a lantern. The eye does not close. It shrinks. It becomes a burning prisoner inside Gandalf's hand. Sauron, the Dark Lord, becomes a voice in chains, a weapon, a warning system, a slave. And Gandalf calls it justice.
That is when any remaining goodness in him begins to rot. Because once you have enslaved Sauron and called it mercy, there is no line left that cannot be moved. Middle-earth does not fall into darkness at once. That would be too honest. At first, it falls into victory. Bandits vanish, corrupt lords confess, old feuds end overnight. Orcs are not exterminated. Not yet. They are marked, numbered, and set to labor beneath the eyes of the Nazgul, who now serve the hand that wears the ring. Sauron whispers from inside the gold, feeding Gandalf names, plots, hidden fears, possible rebellions. At first, Gandalf rejects the cruelest suggestions. No, I will not become him.
Then one name proves useful. A lord in Gondor is preparing betrayal. Gandalf sends a dream. The lord wakes screaming and confesses before dawn. No blood, no torture. Only truth forced into the open. Gandalf tells himself, this is not evil. Evil hides. I reveal. Soon he stops waiting for crimes. He begins punishing intentions. He enters sleep, bends dreams, and places warnings in the minds of kings. He sends the Nazgul across the skies, no longer black riders of Sauron, but white shadows under Gandalf's command. Wherever they pass, obedience arrives before understanding. The first open rebellion begins in Dol Amroth. Men of Gondor refuse the new oaths. They say they fought Sauron so no lord would own their hearts. Once, Gandalf might have admired them. Now he hears only ingratitude. His thought is cold and simple. They breathe because I won. If their freedom threatens the peace I purchased, then their freedom is theft. He arrives under a white storm. The ring burns. The sea wind stops. Every torch in the city turns pale. The rebels draw swords. Gandalf speaks one word. Kneel. Half the city falls. The rest see Sauron. Not the whole Dark Lord. Only a fragment. Only enough. The eye opens inside the ring, and every rebel sees the worst thing he has done, the worst thing he might do, the ugliest version of himself waiting in the dark. Some go mad. Some beg. Some turn their swords on their own leaders. Gandalf watches it happen and tells himself, fear is only evil when it serves evil. Mine serves peace.
From that day on, the free peoples stop calling him the White Guardian in whispers. They begin calling him the White Lord. Not to his face. Not yet. The good do try to fight him. That matters. They do not simply fade away. Aragorn gathers those who can still resist. Faramir, Eomer, Gimli, Legolas, the sons of Elrond, and the last elves who have not sailed. Galadriel comes too, diminished but still terrible. She brings the light of her own ring, not to rule, but to defend memory from being rewritten. Frodo and Sam come with them, not as warriors, as witnesses to the first mistake.
Boromir comes last. For a long time he could not choose. Gandalf saved his city. Gandalf saved his brother. Gandalf gave Gondor victory. But when Boromir sees Faramir in chains for refusing a dream command, the miracle finally curdles. He joins Aragorn without speaking. The last alliance against Gandalf forms in secret beneath the ruins of Osgiliath. Their plan is desperate. They cannot defeat him in war. They can only separate him from the ring. Elven light to blind him, Andúril to break his staff, hobbit hands to take what great hands cannot resist.
For one night, it almost works. Galadriel unveils her power, and the darkness inside the ring recoils. Aragorn strikes Gandalf's staff, and white fire spills across the stones. Legolas shoots the hand that wears the ring. Gimli drives his axe into the ground and breaks the circle of command around them. Frodo runs. Sam runs beside them. The ring is within reach. Then Sauron screams from inside it. Not at Frodo, at Gandalf. Weakness, mercy, loss. The old words become poison.
Gandalf's shame turns into rage. The sky above Osgiliath splits with white flame. The Nazgul descend. The river rises backward. Then Gandalf strikes his staff against the stones. The sound rolls through the ruins like the crack at the bridge of Khazad-dûm, but greater, deeper. No longer the strength of a hidden servant holding back his nature. The broken streets answer him. Stones tear from the city and rise into a white wall around the resistance. Even the Anduin seems to pause, as if the river itself is waiting to be commanded. Gandalf does not ask them to stop. He does not plead. He does not explain. He commands. Faramir is the first to fall. Not dead. Worse. His will breaks. He kneels, weeping, and calls Gandalf Lord. Boromir charges. Gandalf turns his hand. Boromir's sword shatters.
Aragorn reaches him before the killing blow, but Gandalf no longer hesitates at the sight of old friends. He looks at Boromir and thinks, "You were always the honest one. You wanted power openly. I should have trusted that more than noble doubt." Then he casts Boromir aside like a broken shield. Gimli is buried under stone. Legolas is pinned by a ring of pale fire. Éomer's horse throws him and will not rise.
Galadriel stands against Gandalf, longest. Her light pushes back the ring. Everyone sees what he is becoming. Not Gandalf the Grey, not Gandalf the White, something crowned in ash-white flame, with Sauron's eye burning in miniature upon his hand. Galadriel says, "You are not saving them any more." Gandalf answers, "They are alive to accuse me because I saved them." Then he breaks her mirror. Across Middle-earth, hidden waters go dark. Lorien begins to die in a single night.
After Osgiliath, there is no pretending. Gandalf takes Minas Tirith fully. He does not ask Aragorn to rule. He places him on the throne as a symbol and fills his dreams with commands. He does not execute Faramir. He makes him steward of confession, forced to hear the treasons of men and deliver them to the White Lord. He does not destroy Rohan. He binds its riders by oath and sends them to patrol the lands they once defended freely. He does not empty the Shire. He makes it sacred.
protected, watched. A little green shrine to the mercy that began his reign. And Frodo finally understands the deepest horror. Gandalf does still care about the Shire, but not as home. As evidence, as the first exhibit in the case he is making against freedom. Look, he thinks, whenever doubt rises in him. The Shire stands. Frodo lives. Gondor breathes. How can this be evil if the graves are fewer? Then the ring answers in Sauron's voice. Because you still ask. And each year, Gandalf asks less.
He takes Orthanc and Barad-dûr and makes them twin towers of white rule. From Orthanc, he watches the west through the Palantir. From Barad-dûr, he watches the east through Sauron's chained sight. No messenger moves unseen. No king dreams alone. No army gathers without waking to the sound of Gandalf's voice already inside its tents. The eagles will not come near him. The Ents retreat deep into the oldest forests. The dwarves seal mountain doors. The elves sail in grief. And men, who are always the easiest to save and the easiest to rule, begin building statues.
Not because Gandalf commands it, because worship becomes safer than honesty. The final attempt belongs to Frodo and Sam, not because they can win, because they remember the first lie. Only until Rivendell, only until Frodo is safe, only a little longer. Every evil after that wore the face of a delay. They climb toward Mount Doom through a land that no longer looks like Mordor. The roads are clean. The towers are white. The orcs work in silent lines. The Nazgul circle overhead like white shadows. At the path to the fire, Gandalf is waiting. He no longer looks like weather. He looks like law. The ring shines on his hand. Inside it, Sauron burns small and furious. Frodo tells him it has to end. Gandalf says it already has. War has ended. Chaos has ended. The age of needless choice has ended. Sam says the old Gandalf would never say that. Gandalf looks at him, and something like pain moves behind his eyes. He remembers a cart full of fireworks, a round green door, Bilbo laughing, Frodo offering him the ring, his own voice saying, "No." Then Sauron whispers, "They will make you lose it all." The pain becomes anger. Gandalf raises his hand. Sam drops. Frodo catches him and screams. This time, Gandalf does not stop from shame. He stops because killing Sam would prove too much. Some last clever piece of the old wizard knows that evil is easier to deny when it does not leave a body. So he does something worse. He takes from Sam the memory of every road that leads to Mordor. He takes from Frodo the sound of the ring calling from the fire. He does not take their love. He leaves that as punishment. Let them love each other. Let them know something has been stolen. Let them live long enough to understand that love is powerless against order. Then Gandalf seals the crack of doom. Stone folds over fire. The mountain closes. The last door out of his rule disappears. Years pass. Nobody calls him Dark Lord. Not allowed. That title belongs to the slave inside his ring. They call Gandalf the White Lord, the mercy of the West, the keeper of peace.
The names change, but the fear beneath them does not. He no longer pretends removal is possible. He no longer asks kings for counsel. He sends commandments through dreams. He no longer debates with Elrond. Rivendell is empty. He no longer fears Galadriel's warning. Lorien is fading.
He no longer visits the Shire. It is guarded. It is quiet. It is his. At the end of all this, Gandalf stands at the top of Barad-dûr. The eye of Sauron burns small and trapped inside the ring. Below him, Middle-earth is peaceful, quiet, obedient, afraid to dream without permission. And Gandalf no longer wonders whether the price was too high. That question belonged to the Grey Pilgrim. The White Lord has better questions. How many rebellions can be crushed before they become wars? How many minds can be bent before they become dangerous? How much freedom can be burned away before the world finally stops hurting itself?
This is why Gandalf was right to refuse the ring in Bag End. Not because it would make him evil all at once, because it would wait. It would let him save Frodo, let him silence Saruman, let him rescue Rohan, let him preserve Gondor, let him bind Sauron himself. Then it would teach him to enjoy the sound of obedience. By the time Gandalf finally became the enemy, half the world would still be thanking him.
Sauron would have conquered Middle-earth through fear. Gandalf conquers it through proof. Proof that his power works. Proof that his mercy saves lives. Proof that freedom is dangerous. But the ring does not stop there. It never wanted a guardian. It wanted a lord. And in the end, it does not need Gandalf to love evil. It only needs him to look at Middle-earth, broken and grateful beneath him, and think, mine. So if Gandalf could end most suffering by becoming the very thing he once feared, would you still have let him save Frodo?